Hi and welcome to Advanced Timekeeping in Workday. We're going to talk about cost centers, time types, and shift differentials in this short video. Let's start by clicking on the time application and then choosing this week. So let's take a look at your hours this week. Let's say, for example, on Tuesday, you want to adjust your time or enter your time. This is going to look the same as anywhere else in time tracking. However, this time we're going to go beyond your typical day. So your hours worked is going to be your default that the system has you set up as doing your regular job. However, you can click over here and choose different options. For example, you can defer a holiday for an automatically scheduled holiday. You can choose a HHW or household hazardous waste event that you'll be working. You're going to be adjusting your lunch outside of the typical half-hour automatic lunch deduction. You can change the prevailing wage override, project rate override, or again, your default hours worked. Let's say, for example, in this one, you want to do a project rate override. You'll see that a job code showed up. Now you'll put in your regular hours. Let's say again, 8 to 5. Down here, you're going to add a job code. Let's say it's heavy equipment operator. Click OK. Now this will show for your supervisor in your timesheet the project rate override that was chosen. This will give them a clue to take a look at it and verify that it is accurate, and that you coded it to the right cost center or that you coded it to the right project. Let's go back to December 2nd and add your hours for that. Another way to look at your time, let's say you worked regular hours but you want to adjust the cost center because it's not going to your default. Here you can do by cost center or cost centers by hierarchy. One of the easiest ways to do it is to simply search the city that you worked in. Let's say, for example, you're supporting Boston. You can type in Boston and hit enter. And these will be all the cost centers associated with Boston. This is a much easier way to narrow it than going through all the cost centers at US Ecology. Let's say that you're doing operations support remediation. Make your choice. Put in your hours, 8 to 5, and then click OK. On the surface of it, these look no different than any other timesheet, but when your supervisor looks at it to approve, it will show up that you've coded it to the right cost center. Let's say, for example, that you put it in but you realized it was not accurate. Go ahead and click on the time that you submitted. Let's say, for example, you entered this in, but now you realize that you might have done it wrong. All you have to do is simply click on it. Open it back up and take a look. In a cost center, in addition to searching by city, you can also do things like Boston and then support. And anything that has support in it will pop up. So again, it's a way to narrow it down with your search. Let's realize that we did it differently. We want to do this top one, different code. Click OK, and OK again. And you'll see that the changes have been saved. Now, for example, let's say that you want to make sure that you have your shift differential included in your timesheet. Go back to look at, let's say, last week. You'll see that you put in time. But let's say you didn't actually work 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. What if you worked 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.? All right, so this might be second shift at your work location. But you'll notice that nothing pops up here to give you the choice of making sure that that is second shift. What you'd want to do in that situation is you can add a comment. And you can type worked second shift, which gets shift differential, and then click OK. Now the time has moved, it's here, however, shift differential is still not on there. So let's see what happens now that you've submitted your time. So when you're done submitting all your time for the week, go ahead and hit submit. Here's your times. You could also make a note here and say check 12/2 for shift differential. And then go ahead and click submit. Now it's done. I have now logged in as Jose's supervisor, Selena. You'll notice that there's a couple ways for Selena to check the time for Jose. One is whenever there's a submission of time, she can click on it in her inbox that you'll see here. And she can look at the hours, see the comments, and realize that maybe they need to check this. So over here, you can click on details, see that they want it. Okay, makes sense. You can then approve, but that's if there's nothing that needs to be changed. Although she could approve it here, She's not going to because of that shift differential. Therefore, she'll click on the time and absence application. She can then click on Review Time. When you're in reviewing time as a supervisor, she can choose the date, whether or not these are only her direct reports or all workers. In this situation, let's go ahead and keep it to all workers because not that many people have submitted them yet. And here you'll see Jose submitted his time. There's a warning. This is that some of the time was not submitted. That means that he didn't make it to 40 hours. Let's go ahead and click on the details. So we can see here that Jose submitted his time, and we see that there's a second shift override that is required. What she'll do is go into Enter Time for Worker. Now she sees the time. She can click on it and find out the details. You'll see that Supervisor now has this option to look at second shift override. So they can choose from no shift. So let's say this person works a second shift or a third shift, and they're entitled to shift differential pay. However, what if they come in during the day and they are not eligible for shift differential during those hours worked? That's where a supervisor can come in and change it to say no shift differential and say okay. And this one, add in that is second shift. Now it has been approved. So again, with shift differential, only supervisors have the ability to go outside of whatever the expected shift is of that team member. So that wraps up advanced timekeeping in Workday. Thanks for joining us.